The real point of qualifying in underbones is to find the fastest 15, because the fastest 15 end up in a Super Pole competition tomorrow morning, on Saturday morning, to compete for the first 15 grid places. So whether it's wet or dry, in a sense, doesn't matter too much. The imperative is to get yourself into the fastest 15. It's going through there, the two Cardinals bikes led by Izzat Zaidi. There's Pirapong on the orange bike, white helmet, number 14. Nazrul Izzat in the middle of that group, and a hand up from one of the riders there. His engine's gone. There's a puff of blue smoke. He needs to get off to the side and get out of the way. So it's an engine gone early in the session. Couldn't see from that distance who it was. But these underbones are doing their first flying laps at the moment. There's Dimas Julie, number 202, and I think that was so that's one of the, it's number 124. So that is, oh, he doesn't run that number, I don't think, on this one. So I'm not sure whether that might have been Nazarol. Let's have a look. As the timing's come up. Timing screen is active now, and it is Nazarol at the top with the best lap of 147.54 in what could turn out to be tricky conditions, as another of the UMA racing bikes went straight on that turn. So things are getting a little difficult out there. These bikes run Moto 3 tyres, so they're slicks. You can go faster than you think on slicks because they are so sticky in the wet, but beyond a certain point it does get really treacherous. There's championship leader on the right there on the black bike, number 38, Wawanwelo. Next to him, number 17, Haziq Farouz. And Hafisa Rofa, second fastest currently. They're only 2 seconds slower than they were in free practice 2. So let's see how much of an effect the spotty, kind of drizzly conditions, almost like misty rain, how much they're affecting. So first through the chicane there was Pirapong, being chased by Fahmi Bassam. I'm sorry, no, that was Dimas Julie who was chasing him. As the rest of the pack haul itself up the hill. There's Pascal, number 53. So 2 Thai riders running in the Team One for All, which is the Japanese team. So an interesting combination there. But the team owner, Wichi Wee, also works as a technical advisor for the Thai Yamaha team. It seems the conditions are not really affecting anybody here. And Murabil Vitoni, who was the first to break the lap record this morning, he's jumped to the top of the timesheets. If there's ever any doubt about his speed. He's just gone past Dimas Julie, as did Gupita Krishna. Dimas Julie just goes off to one side, trying to find himself some space on the track, as is the rider on the 1XOX machine just behind him. I think that was Shafiq Rasool. but here's a group that means business. So the trick in qualifying, well, the objective is to get yourself into the top 15, but the trick is to get enough of a slipstream, enough of a tow from the other riders around you to get yourself a good lap time. We're looking back again from Wawanwelo. And at the front of that group, Vietnamese rider Nguyen Antoine. And he's leading Wawanwelo, the championship leader. And just behind him is Gupita Krishna, two-times champion, now with the 4S1M Filipino team. I think this is his second, or possibly, I think, second season with that team. Looking again at the some of the top speeds, which are always interesting to look at, compare between the classes. But the fastest top speed does belong to Nazrul, who's got himself back to the top. There he is, number 87. And his fastest speed was 168. And actually, Ahmad Fazli Sham. Oh, and a big crash there. I think that was one of the Uma bikes. The bike certainly got badly smashed up in that. It wasn't Nazrul, because there he is, number 87. Chasing Nguyen Antoine, the Vietnamese rider on the Honda. We'll see who that was shortly, who had that off. But now it's Nazrul who leads across the line as the marshals drag that bike out of the foam fencing. It was an Uma machine. Now we can't see what it was here. And we can't see where the rider went. So let's take a look. Here he goes. So it's right, and the rider went off in another direction. Hopefully he was okay. Though again, we couldn't quite make out which bike that was. But it looked as though the rider was clear of any trouble. Although he did have a bit of a tumble through the gravel there, so he will be feeling a bit sore. Red flag for that incident. There could be debris on the track, so the riders are going to have to come in. As we were just getting into the meat of this qualifying session. So a cruise round for the riders out on track, and return to pit lane is on the cards. So we've had a few red flags today. 4 or possibly 5, I think. I should have counted, but we don't normally get so many. But all in the interests of safety, so if there is anything left on the track, it can be cleared before it causes or becomes a hazard for anyone. It's John Emerson and Guito coming in on the number 22 machine, the 4S1M, teammate of Gupita Krishna, and turning into a very formidable rider himself, John Emerson Minguita. Just looking at his best time so far, 1:48.6. So So as the riders come back in, we haven't got the clock showing on the screen at the moment, so I'm not sure where we were. We were somewhere in the middle of that session. Yeah, there's 19 minutes and 55 seconds remaining. So plenty of time, and the pit lane will open again in just 2 minutes at 17:50. That's Japanese time. So Wawanwelo with the big number 38 on his back. As people look around, there are hoods up there. There's no tyre changes happening, so no speculation on the weather. They've got tyre warmers on. That's Dimash Julie's pit there, LFN. So they've got Dimash Julie, they've got Murabil Vitoni. So really impressive lineup for LFN, who are new to ARRC just in 2022. And 1 minute until the pit lane reopens, and there'll be 20 minutes left in this session, so 2/3 of it. Yeah, go. Good bit of Krishna's pit there. That's the number 23 bike. Number 22 just next to it is the machine of John Emerson Inguito. One Indonesian, one Filipino in the Filipino team. There's UMA Racing, which is split between UMA Malaysia and UMA Philippines. Honda Vietnam. Nice shots of these bikes and riders as we just heard the whistle for the restart of this session. Is that Zaidi gets his tyre warmers taken off, and the bike dropped down onto the tarmac off the axle stand. Wawanwelo seems to suddenly realise, oh whoops, I need to get out on track, so hurries to get his gloves on. A little bit of wind coming up there as well. It was quite a still day earlier, so these are probably the most difficult conditions we've seen today. And it's a little bit colder now. So back up onto the axle stands for Izzat. He's just going to wait. And now in the 1XOX TKKR pit. 3 bikes there, Shafiq Rasol, Ahmad Fazli Sham and Hafisa Rofa. All showing near enough to the front to indicate their competitiveness that we see in every single race is undiminished. So what those guys need to do now is to get themselves into the top 15. The time is ticking down on this qualifying session. Now 18 minutes left. Cardinals Racing. Back to 4S1M. The riders are waiting for something from this angle. We can't see quite what it is, but I think they're eager to get out there. So there goes Gupita, followed by John Emerson Inguito. There are the 2 Thai riders for Team One for All, Pirapong and Pascorn. but ARRC Tsunami sitting it out in the pits. Perhaps Tsunami doesn't fancy the damp weather out there. So 3 bikes for Cardinals this time around. Yeah, he's having some fairing replaced there. I'm not sure if that was him that went off. I think the bike was more badly damaged than that one looked like. And we're on board again with Wawanwelo, looking back at Dimas Juliet Mocha, number 202. One of the quickest riders today. And a rider maturing and starting to bring expectation that he's going to get some good finishes and become a championship contender. But oh my goodness, this is a slow trip, almost like a funeral cortege for these riders. Going on in race control. Well, they've now used up 4 minutes of the 20 minutes they had remaining. And yeah, perhaps as the producer just commented, they don't need really that much time, which is probably true. They normally pull the pin in the last few minutes. Shafiq Rasol goes through there. Murabo Vitoni 157, Pirapong, Pascon, and the rest cruise their way through. So let's just hope that nobody coming up behind. Let's just hope nobody is coming up quickly from behind that's just decided they want to actually go racing. So who's gonna blink first? Oh, and here he comes. It looks like one of the 1XOX machines, and it looks like it's probably Fazli Sham. There he goes. Thank you, my friend. Go on, Fazli. There he goes. There he goes. So that should wake everybody up. And there goes the veteran, legend of underbone racing, Ahmad Fazli Sham. Before the red flag came out, he was in P7 in this session. And now he starts a flying lap. And if the other bikes don't start to get a move on, he's going to catch them up by the time he gets to the end of this lap. But he's seen an opportunity, clear track, to get a good lap in. And he's nothing if not a wily rider. Currently, as the order looks, Nazarul sits at the top, 146.766, and in the all-important 15th cut-off place is Haziq Farouz, 1.9 seconds slower. As we stay there with Fazli, he's got another rider behind him. Oh, and there's another rider down, and that is Wawanwelo. Wawanwelo has hit the gravel. He's shaking his right wrist. Hopefully that's only to move the gravel, if he's got some gravel down the gauntlet. Hopefully that doesn't mean anything else. They push the bike out of harm's way. Good work by the marshals. Meanwhile, he's got behind him, not sure who that is. Let's take a look as they come through the chicane. My eyes are watering. But Shafiq Rasol for 1XOX is currently second, Hafiza Rofa fifth, Fazli in seventh, and he's going to complete the flying lap now. It was a 149.9. We're not sure of the conditions now, so it's difficult to compare. But that is in fact Murabo Vitoni on the LFN machine just behind him. So two riders we know are really quick. Murabo Vitoni, when the red flag came out, was third with a best lap of 147.4. So if the track's got any wetter during the break, then the first 10 minutes will have counted. But let's see. And there's another bunch just out for a ride around the mountains. And in fact, we saw a wolf hanging around one of the gravel traps earlier. So if those guys don't speed up, the wolf could probably catch them. So here go two All for One riders, just behind Dimas Julie, I think that was, and another rider gets it wrong on that difficult downhill braking section and runs off. John Emerson and Guito just splits up the two Team One for All Thai riders, Pirapong and Pascon. One of the Cardinals bikes, that's Izzat Zaidi, is just behind them. And then we've got one of the three musketeers from 1XOX TKKR, and that is Hafisa Rofa. I think one of the most exciting riders in this class. But he's sitting up and doesn't really want to get involved in the group in front of him. Pulls off a tear off. So unhurried there, and Izzat Zaidi goes really wide there. It looks like he's having a chat with Hafisa Rofa. Yeah, it's definitely colder now than it was. Pami Basam, the number 222 for LFN, wildcard for this round. In the gravel. Tyre warmer's been lovingly, Nazaroy's in the pits, with the tyre warmer's been lovingly cuddled onto the Moto3 tyres to keep them nice and warm. Bit of extra body warmth from the mechanic. And there is Wayuachi Trilaksana. We haven't seen too much of him today, but he was quick in FP2. And it looks like he's getting a move on now. There he is, number 60. So far in this session, he is fourth, which is more than good enough for the Superpole shootout. There's one of the Vietnamese Hondas just behind him, but Wayuachi is pulling away from that. '22 champion. It's his second championship. So we take another look. The number 60 on the front of that bike is not as easy to spot as it might be, I have to say. But the bike does look good when it's sitting in pit lane. It's really nicely turned out. He was with Team 1XOX TKKR last year. Now he's with his own team that he runs in the Indonesian Championship, and has decided to bring his team onto the international stage with ARRC. Seems like a nice career move for the two-time champion. Very much paddling his own canoe. That would have worked better if it had been raining. So the only rider really to get anywhere close to Nazarul's time, the 146.766, is Shafiq, who did that, I do believe, before the red flag. Speaking of whom, there he goes. Another spell with 8 minutes remaining for Nazarul. Back with Wayuachi Trilaksana. It's Fazli Sham. Oh, and another bike down. The cold conditions are really catching people out, and that is Wayuachi Trilaksana through the gravel. Tries to bang his bars back into shape. Let's see if he can ride it again, but that will be his day done. He won't get back out and do a competitive time within the next 7 minutes, but his job should be good enough to get into the top 15 comfortably for him. As another bike goes down, I'm not sure what's happening out there, whether the track is getting damp or whether it is just cold. But that's John Emerson in Guito that time. Yeah, it is a wet track. So yeah, so it's rain on one part of the track that seems to be causing the problem. So it could be that those lap times, on that basis, logic says that those lap times are not going to be improved. So these guys might as well come into the pits and call it a session. So this top 15 should stand. Nazarul remaining at the top. Yeah, most of those bikes are coming in. There's really no point in continuing at this stage. So there's 2 seconds, 1.9 seconds spanning the top 15. Nazarul at the top, Haziq Farouz at the bottom of that group. John Emerson in Guito, we just saw crash, is in 14th. In comes Hafisa Rofa. Back into the pits for Hafisa. Hafisa in 5th, we can safely say. So also comfortably makes the cut for Super Pole. And there is Wayuaji. Oh no, I'm sorry, there's John Emerson in Guito. Confused with the number of bikes that have crashed. They park it just next to an UMA machine. And so, the sign language, working well, yeah. So he's still got five minutes remaining, but we're not going to see any more action in this session. LFN back in there. Murabel Vitoni has had a fantastic day for LFN. Fahmi Bassam has also had a pretty good day, but Fahmi has not made the cut for Super... Oh, yes, he has. I beg your pardon, he's in 13th. And happily still upright is number 87. Nazarul Izzat, number 17. Haziq Farouz, and number 98. Izzat Zaidi, all of whom will be in tomorrow morning's Super Pole shootout. So they will surely come into the pits after they get through the chicane. So, in fact, I made a mistake. That's Haziq Hamdan, who is in 15th, the number 78, not Haziq Farouz. Number 17, Haziq Farouz, is actually in 16th. So the UMA rider, Haziq Farouz, didn't make the cut for Super Pole as these guys come in. Disappearing into the misty rain at the high point of this course. There's a 70-meter elevation difference from lowest to highest here at Sugo. But another very good day's work for Nazarul Izzat. and Uma Racing. And that is Fazrul Sham back in the pits there. Fazrul qualified for Super Pole, finished 11th in that session. Fazrul looks like a rider who's going back out. So we better stay with it. And indeed, a few more riders going out as well. They won't complete a lap before the checkered flag comes out. Oh, actually, they probably will because of where the position of the pit lane exit. But on the other hand, it's slippery. They're putting their feet down to test the surface grip. So this is really just a little trundle around. Dimas Julie 202, followed by the 3 TKKR machines. Shafiq Rasool, the last of those. But I can't really fathom the reason that those guys have gone out. Hopefully they're enjoying it. So looking at the riders out here, two of the 3 1XOX TKKR riders have won races this season. Hafiz Arofa won in Malaysia at Sepang. Shafiq Rasool won the very first race of the season at Chang International Circuit. And the checkered flag is about to be waved as we count down to the checkered flag. Here it comes. That's it. The session is officially over. In fact, it was over 5 or 6 minutes ago. So we're going to go down to Yulina.
Right, well done Nazirul Izzat. I know that it's gotten a little colder. It's also raining outside. Tetapi Nazirul masih dapat menunggang dengan baik. Okey, tetap dapat menunggang dengan baik walaupun keadaan cuaca telah berubah secara mendadak. Jadi tolong berikan kami atau tolong berkongsi sedikit komen tentang sesi kelayakan Nazirul tadi.
Alhamdulillah, first kali saya terima kasih pada my mechanic dan bos saya dan tim saya. So tadi first dah nak keluar, cuaca agak sejuk dan hujan dah mula turun sedikit dan saya keluar agak lambat sedikit untuk posisi yang belakang. So masa tu saya untuk terus buat time tak boleh tunggu sebab saya tahu akan jadi tayar akan jadi sejuk. So nak push agak susah. So saya terus push dan saya alhamdulillah dapat nak letak.
Jadi kami harap Nazirul dapat buat dengan baiklah hujung minggu. Ada apa-apa harapan bagi hujung minggu ni? Memandangkan cuaca sangat tidak menentukan.
Saya tidak pasti. Saya harap kalau diberi rezeki untuk menaiki podium, saya naik podium lah. So saya akan cuba buat yang terbaik sebab 1 sampai 25 semuanya fight. So cubalah yang terbaik. Itu je. Terima kasih.
Okay, baik, terima kasih dan selamat berjaya Nazirul. Alright guys, that is almost it for the day, but stay tuned with us. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to send this back to Barry.
Many thanks, Yulina. Fantastic job today from Yulina. Let's take a look at the results for qualifying. So it is Nazirul Izzat, 146. Shafiq Rasool was second. Third, Morabul Vitoni, who's been good all day. Wayu Trilexana. Then Hafiz Arofa. Pirapong Louis Boon Peng was 6th. 7th, Ahmad Fazli Shaman. 8th, Dimas Juliet Moko. Another great day for him. 9th was Iz Saidi. 10th was Wawan Wello. Aman Fazrul Sham. Followed by, in 12th place, Gupita Krishna. Fami Bassam. And 14th, John Emerson in Guito. 15th, Haziq Hamdan. 16th, Haziq Farouz, just missing the cut for Super Pole. Nguyen Antoine after him. 18th, Charles Shazras. 19th is Amikmal. 20th, Pacharagon. 21, Pascon. 22, Arash Tsunami Kamarudin. And going on to the last page, we had Nguyen Hutri, and there was no time recorded for Giancarlo Maurizio or for April King Moscado. So that's it from us from Sugo International Circuit. Thanks very much to Yulina and to Des for bringing me a little bit of relief earlier this afternoon. And thanks to everybody in the production team